the Starfleet life with the USS Dauntless. Are you brave enough to be a Starfleet officer? Do you have what it takes? Greetings, I'm Admiral Swart, Commanding Officer of the USS Dauntless, and this is the briefing with the Admiral for Stardate -250317.1. I am the Admiral in question, and today we're going to be talking about dedication. But before we do that, we record these sessions every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. South African Standard Time. If you are an active duty member of the Dauntless crew, you're welcome to join us here in Discord in the Screening Room channel live, so you can participate in the discussion in real time. Admittedly, 12:30 on a Tuesday is an awkward time. A lot of us have jobs that make that impossible. Fair enough. If you can't make it, or if you are not an active duty member of the crew, you're welcome to catch us on YouTube or on Facebook, where this will be uploaded after the fact. Or if you're not active duty and you are available at this time, you can watch the stream live on YouTube, which works most of the time. According to all the green lights on my dashboard here, it should be working right now. So if you are joining us from YouTube, welcome. If you have a question or a comment, please remember to @tag me in the comment thread. So this is specifically to the Dauntless users. Because there's a lot of chat that happens in the screening room during these events, and not all of that is relevant to me. So I'm going to get to the Q&A section at the end, where I will scroll back and see if any questions or comments are directed at me. And if they are highlighted with an @tag, then that makes it much easier for me to spot them. So we can make sure that I see your comment. So @tag me if you want me to read it out. Otherwise, feel free to participate in the chat in whatever way you see fit. I'll do my best to check YouTube comments as we go as well, but those don't reliably come through to me in real time. So we'll see how that happens. If you're watching this later, you're welcome to drop comments on wherever you find this video, Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitter, whatever it's called, Instagram, anywhere you like, you can drop a comment there, or you can message me directly. I'll do my best to address your question there and then, or I can perhaps use your question or suggestion in an upcoming video, which would be pretty cool. But who are we? Who am I? Why are we here? The USS Dauntless is a future-focused action and advocacy group that is at its core a Star Trek fan club. The Dauntless is a chapter of Starfleet, the International Star Trek Fan Association Incorporated, aka Starfleet International, aka SFI, which is the world's largest organized Star Trek fan organization. SFI uses the metaphor of a starship to organize its various chapters, which are local groups of members in cities around the world, of which the USS Dauntless is one. We are the chapter in Cape Town, South Africa, although we have members of our chapter from various other cities all over. It's not an actual starship, obviously. It's a community of like-minded people who promote Star Trek both as a form of entertainment and as a vision for the future, while taking action towards that future. The ship isn't a ship at all, it is the crew. Dauntless's mission is to promote the values and the philosophy of Star Trek, to provide a space for fans to connect and to engage in activities that promote those values. The Dauntless is based, as I said, in Cape Town, South Africa. So if you are in Cape Town and you are interested in Star Trek and you like the cut of our jib, so to speak, we encourage you to sign up. You can follow the links on our various social platforms to find our website. Purpose of today's briefing is the next in the series of our Starfleet core values, and that is dedication. We did the first one last week, which was on courage. Obviously, if you're watching these asynchronously, you'll just have to go and search for the one in the briefings playlist on YouTube, find the video on courage. But today we're going to be talking about dedication, the second of the three core values of a Starfleet officer. So, as I said, dedication is one of the cornerstone values that defines us as officers of Starfleet. There's some clarification that's required here. I did an entire video on what it means to be a Starfleet officer something like a year ago, and it's worth going back and taking a look at what I said there. I'll go into this in some detail. But essentially, there's no one way of being a Starfleet officer. There is the fictional Starfleet, and what that means is quite different to what our organization, SFI, Starfleet International, the real Starfleet, We're very different organizations, even though we are inspired by them and inspired by their values. And even within SFI, within the real Starfleet, there are great many different chapters. Each chapter has its own way of being a Starfleet officer. When I'm talking about what it means to be a Starfleet officer here, I'm talking specifically about what I mean from the Dauntless point of view, from our chapter. I think most chapters in Starfleet probably share a lot of our values, so I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that this is what makes a Starfleet officer, but some other Starfleet officers you encounter in the world might not feel as strongly about some of these things as we do. But I'm going to continue to use that terminology. So when I talk about us as being Starfleet officers and the values of a Starfleet officer, I mean those specifically of a Dauntless Starfleet officer, but probably of Starfleet officers in general. So dedication stands alongside the other two core values of a Starfleet officer, which is courage and a love of Star Trek. And it's one of the principal values that unites us across the 20 fleets, across chapters, and even across departments within a chapter. So as I said, there is the fictional Starfleet and the real Starfleet. Real Starfleet is Starfleet International, which is a real-world organization inspired by the fictional Starfleet. The fictional Starfleet is, if you are not aware, comes from Star Trek, the fictional universe created by Gene Roddenberry and depicted in nearly 1,000 episodes and feature films up to this point across multiple different series. And Starfleet is, in that fictional future, an organization that is the descendant of NASA. It is principally the space exploration arm of the fictional government, the United Federation of Planets. Also has a military utility to it. We, the real world Starfleet, are neither an exploratory service nor are we a military. We're neither of those things, although we draw a lot of inspiration from them in terms of our superficial aspects, the metaphor of a starship, our ranks, titles, uniforms, all of that kind of thing. And especially our values, we are fundamentally very different to the fictional Starfleet. The real Starfleet and the fictional Starfleet, the similarities are superficial only, or superficial and in terms of values, but in terms of function and in terms of what we do, very, very different. So let's be clear about that. I'm not advocating jumping into a spaceship and flying off into the stars. Do that if you want, but that's not what we're here for. The Starfleet we see on screen is also idealized. It inspires us, but it doesn't exist. What does exist is this crew, this ship, this family of officers committed to excellence, to making a difference, and to each other. In Starfleet, dedication means choosing to do things that matter over and over again, consistently and reliably, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. So what do I mean when I say dedication? What is dedication? Being dedicated means more than just being enthusiastic or being interested, although those are valuable qualities too, and we want to cultivate those in our members as well. But enthusiasm fades. Interest can waver. But dedication is that enduring quality that makes a Starfleet officer somebody that we value and someone we treasure. It's dedication shows up early. It stays late. It brings the coffee. It remembers birthdays. It files reports on time. It learns the protocols. Dedication is the choice to do the right thing the second time, and the third time, and the 100th time. It's the act of becoming the kind of person who does that thing again and again. And this consistency isn't always glamorous, but it is powerful. It's what turns a fan into an officer, into a volunteer, and into a leader. And it's what turns a moment into a mission. And when I say mission, I don't just mean a discrete event where we go out in uniform and have lunch together or have a games day or even donate blood together. We're talking about the mission that we are all here for, which is to promote the values of Star Trek to Africa and the Middle East. It's that mission. That's what we're here to do. And it's dedication that allows us to do that. It's more than just fleeting enthusiasm or interest. It's the enduring choice to consistently do what is right time and time again. Yes, it's not always glamorous, but it is a powerful force that manifests in many ways. Like I said, arriving early, staying late to clean up, offering support, not just in terms of making coffee, but in any number of ways, diligently fulfilling responsibilities. Dedication is choosing to repeatedly do the right thing, shaping individuals into those who consistently act with integrity. Integrity is another important Starfleet value. This unwavering commitment is what sets dedicated individuals apart and propels them towards their goals and our goals. Now, in an organization run by volunteers, which is what the Dauntless is, what Starfleet is, reliability is as precious as gold-pressed latinum. We have a roster of duty stations on board the Dauntless. Duty stations are positions which members of the crew can sign up for, which allow them to commit to a certain set of deliverables of things that need to be accomplished regularly, daily, weekly, monthly, annually. It varies from position to position. And those are the positions that need to be filled in order for us to operate smoothly as a group, as an organization. And every single one of those duty stations, the aspect that they all have in common is that they require dedication from the person sitting in that seat. Volunteerism is dedication. You can't have one without the other. In any organization, speaking as somebody who volunteers repeatedly with a number of different organizations, if you're just going to volunteer for one day, that's cool. That will qualify you to do something like a beach cleanup, which is important and that matters. Problem is that beach is going to be dirty again in a week's time. So unless you're going to show up and clean that beach again the following week, how much of an impact has your volunteering actually done? It's that dedication. It's the showing up again and doing it again. It's doing the important thing over and over again. And when you have levels of complexity to a particular volunteering task, like on the Dauntless, like in Cheetah Outreach, where you have to learn skills and learn protocols in order to do the thing safely and effectively, you're not even going to, without dedication, you're not going to spend enough time involved in that pursuit long enough to learn the necessary skills if you're not exercising dedication. You need to be there consistently over time. And another important thing about that is that when people know that they can count on you, which is when you demonstrate dedication, you are signaling to people that they can count on you. And when they know they can count on you, they relax. You reduce uncertainty. If I know as the leader of an organization that I can trust every member of my team, every duty station holder in my crew to do their job, that makes my job 1,000,000 times less stressful because I don't have to be watching everybody's back to make sure that the things are going to happen that need to happen. I can just trust that those things are going to happen. And if for whatever reason they can't, I'll be informed in a timely manner. That's what dedication does for everybody, not just as the leader, but as every member of the team. Everybody's work becomes that much easier, not only because someone else is doing a portion of that work, but because we can trust that person to do their work. That's what dedication does for the team. You become the person that others instinctively think of when they think something important needs doing. So here's the pull quote here. In Starfleet, showing up on time isn't about punctuality. It's about trust. That's a good one. All right. So let's, as we did with courage last time, let's take a look at the neuroscience of dedication. What's happening inside our brains when we practice dedication? How does it all work? So from a neurophysiological standpoint, dedication is driven by several brain systems that all kind of work together. That's typical of the brain. Everything works together. Nothing works in isolation. And here's a term that's become one of my favorite things to say recently, which is the anterior cingulate cortex. If you're playing bingo at home, you can now drink. Anterior cingulate cortex is a part of the brain that is turning out to be very, very important for most of our Starfleet values. Something I only recently learned about, and boy, has it changed my perspective on how all these things happen. The anterior cingulate cortex, or the ACC, it's, among other things, it monitors conflict between different areas of the brain. It flags errors and keeps you focused when there's friction between comfort and commitment. The ACC is a crucial brain region that's nestled within the frontal cortex, so it's kind of anterior means front, so it's kind of in the front there, but it's kind of in the middle. I should have had a diagram. I really should get a diagram for that. It's fine. I'm just going to point at my head like this, and then you can clip that and turn it into a GIF if you want. It plays a pivotal role in cognitive control and conflict resolution. Its primary function lies in monitoring and identifying discrepancies between intended actions and actual outcomes. So what it is that you plan to do versus what it is that ends up happening, and then helps you to refine your skills on doing that kind of thing. It flags your errors between all kinds of things, but in this specific case, it flags the error between what you expected to happen, what your simulation told you would happen, versus reality, and it prompts your adjustments in behavior. So, for example, if you're practicing a repetitive sport like tennis, you're practicing your tennis swing, the ACC is what helps you to monitor your ability to put the ball where you want it to be with the swing of the racket each time. So, okay, I hit the ball this time. I thought it was going to go over there, but it went over there instead. I need to make an adjustment. So you adjust your swing slightly on the next swing, and then okay, now the ball went over there instead of over there. I've adjusted too much. It's the ACC that's regulating those deviations and those variations between iterations of the same behavior. This ability to detect conflict and initiate corrective measures is particularly vital in situations where individuals are faced with competing desires or motivations, like choosing between immediate gratification and long-term goals. You may be familiar with the marshmallow experiment. You can Google it if you're not. So this is a thing where it's been replicated many, many times, but essentially you put a child in a chair, sit them at a table, and in front of the child is a saucer with a single marshmallow on it. And you tell the child, I'm going to leave the room. If you eat this marshmallow, then that's it. If you leave the marshmallow alone, then when I come back into the room, I'll give you can have this one and a second marshmallow. And then you do just that. That is the difference between short-term or immediate gratification and long-term goals. So the children that have the ability to withhold, to not eat that marshmallow that's sitting staring them right in the face for just a few minutes, they get rewarded with their long-term goal of having 2 marshmallows, whereas the ones that don't have that ability will just gobble it up and then they only get the 1. And obviously the ones that are able to hold on for those few minutes while staring at that marshmallow in front of them, they're the ones that have a more strongly developed anterior cingulate cortex. So in essence, the ACC serves as a kind of a neural alarm system. It alerts us when our actions deviate from our intentions or from our expectations. And this conflict monitoring function is essential for maintaining focus and adapting to changing circumstances, enabling us to override impulsive urges and to stay committed to our chosen course of action. Furthermore, the ACC's error detection capabilities contribute to learning and to self-improvement, because you're processing that feedback element, as recognizing and correcting mistakes facilitates the refinement of skills and strategy. So you're learning by making mistakes. Beyond its role in conflict resolution and error monitoring, the ACC has also been implicated in various other cognitive and emotional processes, as we discussed last time when we were talking about courage, including things like attention, motivation, and even empathy. Its extensive connections with other brain regions, such as the prefrontal cortex, which we'll talk again about shortly, and the limbic system, which is the amygdala, we spoke about that last time, underscore its multifaceted contributions to human cognition and behavior. Dysfunctions within the ACC have been linked to a range of neuropsychiatric disorders, including ADHD, OCD, depression, anxiety. So it's a pretty important area to know about and to learn to drive if you want to manage those kinds of things in yourself. All right, the prefrontal cortex, that's kind of there. It helps you to plan, delay gratification, and choose long-term goals over short-term temptations. So this is where your higher order reasoning is happening. Your short-term impulses happen in your amygdala, and your higher order reasoning, which is a slower system but a more thoughtful system, happens here in the prefrontal cortex, and it's the ACC that resolves any kind of disputes between those 2 brain regions. The prefrontal cortex, which is in the front of the brain, as I said, it's kind of here behind your forehead. It's a crucial brain region responsible for a multitude of complex cognitive functions. It's the part of the brain that evolved most recently. So if you think about humans as being distinct from most other species in that our brains are more complex than most, that's the part that arose most recently, and it is the part that is the most human. So arguably the most complex. So it plays a role in executive functions, which encompass a range of higher order mental processes that enable to effectively navigate our environment and to achieve our goals. One of the key functions of the prefrontal cortex is planning. Allows us to anticipate future events, formulate strategies, and organize our actions in a purposeful and efficient manner. This ability to plan ahead is essential for success in various domains, from academic and professional pursuits to personal relationships in everyday life. This is the thing that we spoke about last time when we were talking about visualization. This is what the prefrontal cortex kind of does in standby mode all the time. It's running simulations about your world, about things that you want to do, about how to achieve the things that you want to achieve. All of that stuff is happening in the prefrontal cortex. Another important function of the prefrontal cortex is the ability to delay gratification. So this involves resisting immediate temptations and prioritizing long-term rewards over short-term pleasures. So when you are resisting the urge to grab that one marshmallow, it's the prefrontal cortex that's reminding you, no, there's a second one coming. There's a second one coming. Hold off. Just hold it. There's a second one coming. That's all happening up here in the prefrontal cortex. It helps us to weigh the potential consequences of our actions and make choices that align with our long-term goals and values. And the capacity for self-control is crucial for achieving success, maintaining good health, and for fostering fulfilling relationships. Prefrontal cortex also plays a role in decision-making, particularly in situations that involve choosing between competing options. It helps us to evaluate potential risks and benefits of different choices and select the course of action that's most likely to lead to a desirable outcome. This is the kind of thing that brain regions like the amygdala or even the ACC itself are not equipped to do. They can't process enough information to be able to make long-term plans and choose between different outcomes. When you're choosing between taking a job offer at a new company or accepting a raise at your current company, that's a complex decision to make. When there are a lot of factors that you have to consider, that's something that can't happen at your brainstem. That has to come from the prefrontal cortex. You need to be running multiple simulations of multiple potential outcomes, factoring in hundreds of different factors and seeing which one is the most desirable potential outcome. This ability to make informed and rational decisions is essential for navigating the complexities of life and achieving our desired outcomes. Prefrontal cortex is also involved in regulating emotions and inhibiting impulsive behaviors. It helps us manage our emotional responses in a healthy and adaptive way, preventing us from being overwhelmed by negative emotions or acting on impulse. So this is the act of stoicism. That's, again, what the prefrontal cortex does natively. It does stoicism. So it allows us to recognize and process our emotions, our emotional impulses to do things, and override those emotional impulses with rational actions, some of the time at least, to varying degrees of success. Its capacity for emotional regulation is crucial for maintaining mental well-being, building strong relationships, and achieving success in various endeavors. Okay, next brain area that we haven't spoken about before. This is the nucleus accumbens, and related dopamine systems help to reinforce behavior that leads to meaningful outcomes. It creates a feedback loop, a literal chemical feedback loop that strengthens habits that you build over time. The nucleus accumbens, which is a key component of the brain's reward system, it's rich in dopamine receptors. So dopamine is generated in various places, and this is where the dopamine plugs in. So the reward system of the brain, there are multiple reward systems of the brain, but dopamine is a thing that's secreted when you do something that is good, and it is received by the nucleus accumbens as the way of perceiving pleasure for doing something that is good. Problem comes in, this system can break when other things imitate dopamine. Long story. Okay, let's not get into that. Okay, this region rich in dopamine receptors is activated when we experience something pleasurable or rewarding, such as achieving a goal, receiving praise, or indulging in a favorite food. It's that favorite food thing, but that's, again, a topic for another video. This dopamine release triggers a sense of satisfaction and well-being, which in turn strengthens the neural pathways associated with the behavior that led to the reward. And this process creates a feedback loop. The more we engage in a behavior that results in dopamine release, the more likely we are to repeat that behavior in future. Over time, this repetition can lead to the formation of new habits as the neural pathways associated with the behavior become increasingly ingrained. So this is something that you can develop and build in yourself using this system. This is why habits can be so difficult to break, where they're literally wired into our brains. Trying to think of an analogy for this. No, I'm not going to analogize this. Let's just go on. Understanding the role of the nucleus accumbens in dopamine and habit formation can help us to develop strategies for building positive habits by breaking negative ones, by consciously choosing to engage in behaviors that result in positive outcomes. So you can, with the help of your prefrontal cortex and your anterior cingulate cortex, you can choose to steer away from behaviors that might have stimulated your dopamine response earlier, like eating too much or sitting on the couch watching TV, and choose behaviors that are more beneficial for you long term, like going to the gym or eating a steak instead of a slice of cake or something like that. And by doing that repeatedly and by experiencing the dopaminergic reward that comes from those actions, you can develop new habits by strengthening the neural pathways associated with those more beneficial behaviors. So that's why it's hard at first, but it gets easier over time to make sensible choices about eating. At first, it's going to be difficult because you're not getting the dopamine response that you were expecting, that you were used to, but then you help to develop and strengthen that dopamine response to the good stuff, and it becomes easier and easier. It also then reduces the cognitive load, so you're not having to try as hard to make a conscious choice to do those things each time. Similarly, by avoiding behaviors that result in negative outcomes, we can weaken the neural pathways associated with those behaviors and make them less likely to occur. So again, in that example, if we're switching from sitting on the couch watching Netflix shows, eating cake, and we're trying to transition to going to the gym and eating a nice lean steak instead, if we choose to do this behavior often enough, it's going to strengthen the dopaminergic reward pathways associated with this and make this an increasingly rewarding activity. But also the pathways associated with this activity that we're no longer doing will atrophy over time. They'll eventually degrade. And after a while, you won't really want to do this anymore. You'll want to do this instead. You're literally changing the things that you want, and you can intentionally change that yourself. Yeah, so that's very interesting. And then, of course, let's get back to the amygdala. This is quite an important brain region. So this is where emotional salience is tagged, making certain moments like breakthroughs or acts of courage stick in your memory and reinforce your purpose. So it's an almond-shaped structure located deep within the brain. So it's kind of the easiest way to get to it is kind of from the roof of your mouth. It's right up in there. It plays a crucial role in emotional processing and memory. It acts as a filter, assigning emotional significance or salience to experiences. So this is kind of how we recall memories to a large extent, biographical, historical memories, is through the emotional significance or salience that's attached to them. We don't remember the events so much as we remember how we felt about what happened. Then our brain can kind of reconstruct the circumstances under which what happened, and then we sort of replay that simulation in our brain. So memory is not like a video recorder that just records everything that you're watching and then plays it back for you. It's anchoring certain key points. One of the most important points is the emotional salience of the moment, and then it reconstructs it based on the little bits of information that it has there. That's a bit of a tangent, I'm sorry. Process ensures that events with high emotional impact, like personal breakthroughs or moments of triumph or acts of courage, are tagged as important. That means that it's easier to find them in your memory. These emotionally charged memories are then more likely to be encoded and stored in long-term memory, making them readily accessible for future recall. Oh, okay, I said that. By selectively reinforcing these impactful memories, the amygdala helps to shape an individual's sense of purpose and motivation. Recalling past successes and moments of resilience can inspire confidence and determination in the face of new challenges. So if you have a memory of yourself doing a lot of cool things that had long-term outcomes, you can draw on those memories to inspire yourself with your own previous actions and help to strengthen the neural pathways associated with those things. Similarly, remembering acts of courage can encourage individuals to continue upholding their values and pursuing their goals. So remembering that you went to the gym yesterday, the day before, and the day before that, and then you hit that personal best in the park run of the weekend, that's going to help you to get to the park run again this weekend. In essence, the amygdala's ability to tag emotional salience transforms fleeting experiences into lasting sources of motivation and direction. There's a lot of overlap between the neurophysiology of dedication and courage. They're kind of related concepts. Because staying dedicated often means staying the course, even when it's uncomfortable or uncertain or scary. These same systems help us to override fear, manage stress, and push through adversity. So when we're talking about dedication, doing things over time, fear is less likely to be a factor there, but discomfort is definitely a factor, and perhaps fear of discomfort might be relevant. And these are the brain areas, these are the systems that are going to help us to push through that discomfort and do the important thing anyway. Over time, with repetition and reward, these neural pathways become stronger. Dedication, in essence, is a trainable trait. So how do we do that? How do we train dedication in ourselves? How do we get stronger? And also help each other develop it too. So first thing we want to do is we want to align with purpose. You need to know why you're here. You need to know what matters to you and to your community, in our case, to our crew. When your actions are aligned with your values, commitment feels less like a chore and more like a calling. Take your time to truly understand why you're doing this, why you're involved here, why you're part of this mission, and what holds significance both for you and for this community. When your daily tasks and your long-term goals are in harmony with that core value, with that core mission, that core calling, and your sense of commitment, your sense of commitment will transform. It shifts from being a feeling of obligation to a sense of purpose and of vocation, as if this is the thing that you do. This is how you define yourself. This alignment fosters a deeper connection to your work, making it more fulfilling and meaningful. I was going to relay a personal anecdote, but maybe I should save that for another time. Second structure for consistency uses, I said that wrong. Second, you want a structure for consistency. So we've spoken about this quite a lot in the past, especially in the video about calendars. But it helps when you're trying to build consistency in yourself to reduce your cognitive load. And what that means is you don't want to be thinking about everything you have to do all the time. You want to take the planning and scheduling of your day-to-day life and the things you have to do out of your head and put them onto something else. And just so happens that computers are great at helping us do that. Google Calendar is probably the single most important tool when it comes to this kind of thing. So if there's something that you need to do, something you need to do over and over again, a task or a meeting that you have to attend, just put it in Google Calendar. It will remember for you. And then you don't have to think about, oh, this is the thing I have to do today because now it's Tuesday and I have to be here at this time. You just look at your calendar in the morning because you look at your calendar every day and you ask it, where am I supposed to be today? You can literally even ask your digital assistant, what's next on my calendar, and it'll tell you where to go. So Google Calendar, very important. You can build structures for consistency out of the tools you're already using. Use checklists. Google Keep is great for this. Again, there are plenty of other tools. I'm talking about Google because I've been spending a lot of time working in the Google ecosystem lately, but there are other tools too. If you don't like Google Keep, you can use Evernote or Microsoft OneNote or whatever the Apple version of that thing is. Google Keep is great for this. Checklists, schedules, again, calendars, Google Calendar, iCal, Microsoft Outlook, whatever, and any number of other systems to help you manage the things that you need to do. You can create small rituals that anchor your duties into your routine. This is something that I found very useful when I was trying to get myself motivated to start working out, was to create rituals around it. Rituals like there were certain things that I needed to do at home. Like I had to prepare my hydration bottle, I needed to prepare my gym clothes, and there was some other item. I can't remember what the other item was. Once I had begun preparing those things in my head, I was now locked in and committed. I had to go to the gym. I couldn't stop at that point. Getting myself to the gym in the first place was the most difficult part of beginning this process. So that little ritual helped to get my brain in the right place. And then before I knew it, I was just doing that on autopilot. So I would decide, okay, I'm going to start the ritual now because my calendar told me that it was time. I could begin the ritual. And then before I knew it, I was home from the gym again. Creating those rituals are very, very important. Again, it helps you to reduce the cognitive load and take the decision out of doing it. It's just a thing that you're doing. And why all of this? Because consistency is the skeleton of dedication. Dedication needs a framework to hang on, and consistency is that framework. So again, you want to incorporate things like checklists for tracking tasks. You want to maintain schedules for your time management. Google Calendar is great for that. Using organizational systems for overall efficiency. You want to establish small, regular practices that seamlessly integrate your responsibilities into your daily routine that can significantly enhance your commitment and your consistency. Things like if you're having your morning coffee, you're doing a particular task, and that task and your morning coffee are linked because those are the things that you do together. Those kinds of rituals are really quite effective. Next, you want to practice with feedback. So repetition without reflection is just going through the motions, right? You want to ask for feedback, you want to give feedback, and you want to celebrate progress. So feedback is not just asking other people for feedback. You need to be part of the feedback system for other people too. So mindless repetition without thoughtful reflection and adaptation is merely going through the motions and won't lead to substantial improvement. So although establishing those rituals, setting up that structure is very important to get yourself going, completely eliminating the cognitive load and checking out entirely during those processes is not going to help you get better at it. You can improve your efficiency, you can improve your skill, you can make yourself even better, but that requires a little bit of intentionality. And that intentionality is evaluating the outcomes of the activities that you're doing and making corrections to improve what you're doing. We're going back to the tennis swing analogy. You can hit a tennis ball against a wall for hours, but unless you're actually working to try and improve your swing, improve your accuracy, you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And there is benefit, there's value to doing it for the sake of doing it, especially if the task at hand is somewhat repetitive. But if you can be improving on it, if you can be doing better at it, you should be trying to do that. And feedback is important. Sometimes feedback is as simple as just looking to see how it's doing. Sometimes you need to involve other people in that feedback mechanism. Perhaps you need some kind of measurable key performance indicator. Perhaps you need to just poll the people around you for their opinions on your performance. Perhaps you're looking at something like a crew evaluation or a personnel file. That's the kind of feedback that we're talking about here. So it can either be feedback that you've gained yourself just by observing the world, or feedback that you've requested from other people around you. Recognize and celebrate progress both in yourself and in others, as this positive reinforcement can be a powerful motivator for continued growth and development. So when you see that things have improved, when you have gotten better, it's important to recognize that. Praise people for doing it. Remember, we have a principle of praise in public, critique in private. Let's forget the critique part for now. Praise in public. We want to recognize when people are doing cool things, when they're getting better at the things that they do, and also recognize that in yourself. Throw yourself a little party, get yourself that milkshake you've been craving, that kind of thing. When you reach one of those developmental milestones that you've been trying to achieve, then you want to reinforce it. You want to recognize your own efforts. You want to recognize others. Pride is not a sin here. It's fuel. Recognition and positive reinforcement are powerful tools for maintaining motivation and driving continued success. Acknowledge your accomplishments and progress along the way. Take the time to appreciate the effort and dedication you've invested in reaching your goals. Celebrate the milestones, both big and small. Okay, that's an important thing that's worth mentioning. We're not just celebrating the achievement of the goals. We're not just talking about celebrating the milestone. While that's important, and that's a good excuse to celebrate, it's also important to recognize and celebrate all the work that you've put into it up until that point. If you finally hit that 30-minute 5K on park run on a Saturday morning after you've been pushing for the last 3 years to get your time down from 55 minutes to 30, you've put in a lot of work to get to that point, and you really need to be recognizing not only the achievement, but also all of the effort that you've put in consistently, Saturday after Saturday, all that time to improve that. And if you're making that kind of an improvement, that means you've been working on days other than just Saturday as well. You've been running elsewhere, you've been hitting the gym, you've been losing weight, you've been improving your diet, all of that kind of stuff. All of that effort contributed towards that milestone. And it's important to recognize that, even if it's just for yourself. But also, it's okay. In fact, it's kind of a requirement here in Starfleet that you need to talk about your successes, because we don't necessarily know, because we don't live in each other's pockets. We communicate principally through a text-based medium. I don't necessarily know when you've achieved or done something cool, and I might want to celebrate that with you and congratulate you for it, but I don't have ubiquitous knowledge of what's going on in your life. So if you've done something cool, tell us about it. Celebrate with us. Let us know that you've done something cool. Even if it's within Starfleet, this is a common thing that happens all too often, is members of our chapter will sign up for positions elsewhere in Starfleet International, Starfleet Academy, one of the auxiliaries, something like that. And they'll do really cool and important things over there, but there is no reporting mechanism between the different auxiliaries and Starfleet Academy, various different departments, leading back to the chapter leadership. I don't get a report from Starfleet Academy telling me how well you've done as the director of this or that academy department. It's dependent on the individual member to feed back that information. So that's something you should be including in your crew report at the end of the month, so that I know that you've done this cool thing. If nowhere else, it should be in your crew report, but really you should be shouting it from the rooftops. Drop a message in the bridge. Let us know that this cool thing has happened to you. We want to know what's happening in your life so that we can help you celebrate your milestones. Take the time to appreciate effort and dedication you've invested in your goals. Celebrate the milestones, both big and small. Additionally, recognize the contributions of others. Show appreciation for their support, their collaboration, and hard work. Publicly acknowledge their achievements and express gratitude for their role in your shared successes. When we achieve something as a group, we don't want to be taking sole credit for it. We want to be sharing the credit with everybody who participated. Remember that pride in your accomplishments and the achievements of your team is not only acceptable, but is essential. It fuels your passion, it boosts morale, it reinforces the value of your efforts. Embrace the sense of accomplishment and let it push you forward. Another important aspect of this deals with professional reputation. Now, this is another video that we did some time ago about reputation, but let's talk about how dedication impacts that. So it's obvious how a value like courage can impact your reputation. It's almost a no-brainer, but dedication, I would argue, has a much bigger and more important component of your professional reputation. So let's look at why. So dedication isn't just something that you feel. It's not just something internal to you. It's something that people see. And when they see it, they start to trust you. They start to depend on you, and they start to respect you. Dedication is evident in your actions, in your work ethic, and in your commitment. It's about going the extra mile, consistently delivering results, and showing that you've invested in the task at hand. Whether others witness this level of dedication, it fosters trust. They see that you are reliable, dependable, and that you'll follow through on your commitments. This trust then breeds respect. People admire your work ethic and your willingness to put in the effort. They value your contributions and recognize your dedication as a mark of your character. So people are not only impressed by what you do, they are literally judging and evaluating you as a person based on your dedication. And people's esteem, their perception of you is massively increased if they see you as somebody who is reliable, trustworthy, and dependable. Over time, your consistent reliability becomes your reputation. In a volunteer organization like ours, where hierarchy is chosen, not imposed, it's kind of a mixture of the two, but yeah, okay, let's go with that. Credibility is everything. In any organization, but especially within a volunteer-based structure like ours, reliability and consistency are the cornerstones upon which reputations are built. Unlike traditional corporate environments where hierarchy is dictated by titles and positions, volunteer organizations operate on a system where respect and authority are earned through actions and consistent dependability. And that's kind of the core behind the induction process that we now have for our duty station positions, especially for members who are relatively new to us and we don't know you very well. There is time and effort involved in developing a sense of trust, showing us that you are dedicated enough in order to take on that position. And that's why the induction process takes long. It's not something that you can complete overnight. It takes weeks, months, hopefully not, but possibly even years to earn a duty station position. In such an environment where leadership is not enforced but rather chosen by the members, credibility becomes the most valuable currency. Your ability to consistently deliver on promises, meet deadlines, and fulfill your commitments is what establishes your trustworthiness and earns the respect of your peers. This credibility isn't simply about being seen as competent. It's about being recognized as someone whose word carries weight. Remember, my word is my bond, one of the other values of a Starfleet officer. Someone whose opinions are valued, and whose contributions are essential to the organization's success. In a volunteer setting where members are not bound by contracts or financial obligations, this trust and respect are the only true measures of influence and leadership. This is something I talk a lot about when I'm talking about economics, which is reputational economics. And this is what we're talking about. Trust is the currency of reputational economics, and dedication is how you bank that trust. So yes, dedication helps you to grow personally, but it also helps you to lead. It helps you to build influence. It helps make people want to follow your example. When you're dedicated, you set a powerful example for others. Your commitment to your work, to your team, to your goals inspires the people around you. People are naturally drawn to those who demonstrate unwavering dedication, and they are more likely to follow in their footsteps. Furthermore, dedication fosters trust and respect. When you consistently show that you're dedicated, people know that they can rely on you. They know that you can do what it takes to get the job done, and they will be more willing to follow your lead. They'll listen to your opinions. In essence, dedication is a key ingredient in building influence. It's a quality that attracts followers, it inspires confidence, and earns respect. By demonstrating dedication in your own life, you can become a role model for others and a leader in your field, not only in Starfleet, but in every aspect of life. So it's worth reminding ourselves again that this is not fiction. We're not just fans of Star Trek. We are members of the real Starfleet, and that comes with real world responsibilities, real impact, and real pride. It's not just a figment of our imagination or a fandom we belong to. It's an actual tangible organization. We're not simply enthusiasts of Star Trek. We are active members of Starfleet International and the USS Dauntless, real world entities. This distinction carries significant weight and entails genuine responsibilities. Our actions have real consequences, both positive and negative, and our affiliation with Starfleet should instill within us a profound sense of pride. We are something larger than ourselves, something that has the potential to make a real difference in the world. And there's no better example than this than our blood donation missions. And we'll harp on it again and again. Blood donation missions are the single most important thing that we do here on the Dauntless. Once every 9 weeks, we gather together in our various local teams and we go and donate blood together. Each unit of blood that is donated has the potential to save 3 people's lives. 1 unit of blood gets broken into 3 different products, and those 3 different products each one can potentially save a person's life. Each additional person that goes with us on those away missions and donates blood saves another 3 people's lives, which is why it's mandatory for all active duty personnel. You have to attend. You are obliged to attend. Even if you're not able to physically donate yourself, which, there's a minority of people that fall into that category, also required to attend because we need that support. We need to rely on you. We need to know that we can trust you, even if it's just keeping us company, offering a ride, buying a coffee, anything like that. Pardon me, my non-human companion is making a fuss. There we go. Hopefully that will satisfy him. So this is an activity that we engage in that has real life or death consequences. And that is why we're not just messing around here. We're not just a fan club. We're not just a fandom community. We are real people doing real things that matter in the world. And that's why our reputations as individuals and as an organization matter, because people need to know that they can rely on us. Another example is when you're out in public, you're in uniform, you're at a convention or something. That's timeless. Comic-Con Cape Town is coming up in a few weeks. And you're speaking to somebody who is interested in joining our group. You're speaking to a new recruit. Every time you answer a new recruit's question, you attend an event, you teach someone a skill, or you just wear your uniform with pride, you're doing something that matters. You're demonstrating your dedication. Each of these actions, and countless others like them, may seem small in isolation, but together they create a powerful tapestry of dedication. They demonstrate your commitment to your fellow service members, to our organization, and to the ideals that we all hold dear. All right, so let's wrap up. Let's conclude all of this. So I've got a few pull quotes here for you. Dedication isn't flashy, it isn't loud, but it is heroic. It's what makes the ship run. the mission move, and the crew grow. It's the quiet, persistent engine behind every successful officer and every strong community. Be the one who follows through. Be the one who remembers. Be the one who keeps showing up. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. Ask yourself not what big heroic thing you can do, but what small, meaningful thing you can do consistently. Then do it. Again, that's Starfleet. Because dedication, that's the Starfleet way. All right, okay. Let's get to the questions and comments. I saw a couple come through. All right. Okay, good. Commander Shamali says that YouTube is a go. Thank you. Let me just shout out to everyone who's here. We've got Colonel Hubert, Commander Shamali, Captain Van Krenen, and Master Chief Newton. Excellent. All right. Anything else I need to see? Commander Shamali. I mean, squirrels technically plan ahead, don't they? Packing nuts away for winter. My understanding is that that's something of a misconception. So they're not necessarily planning ahead. They don't even necessarily know what winter is, but they do have an instinctual behavior to forage for food and then bury it. It's also a common misconception that they remember where they buried the food. What is more likely happening is that squirrels tend to live in relatively high population density areas. And if all the squirrels living in a particular place are always burying nuts around the trees where they live, if you are a squirrel and you feel like a nut and it's not nut season, there are no nuts hanging from the trees, if you go and dig in any given spot in that area, you'll probably find a nut because somebody buried one there in the last season. So it looks like they're planning ahead, but probably not. I suppose, it's not that different, but still. Are we just squirrels with thumbs? Well, perhaps we are. Let's see. My another Commander Shamali, my karate sensei says that discipline teaches determination. Determination teaches dedication. Dedication teaches you more discipline. Yeah, I think that's true. There definitely is a feedback loop there. The more that you do all of those things, the more you cultivate the necessary neural pathways and reward feedback mechanisms in your brain, which makes it even easier to build it even stronger. So it's something that you're flexing and building in yourself all the time. Colonel Hubert, how do you figure out what is a milestone for you? That's an interesting question. And it would depend a lot on what the task at hand is. If it's something like physical training, then it's relatively straightforward. It all boils down to the numbers. Hitting a specific personal best in weights or in running time or something like that. If it's performing relatively menial tasks, then it might be about again, you can break it down to numbers if you can. So how many times did I do this thing today? How long did it take me to do this thing? It used to take me 25 minutes. It now takes me 8 minutes. It could be a factor of accuracy. I was able to accomplish this task making only 1 error this time. Last time I did it with 3 errors, that kind of thing. If you can break it down to numbers, then it's nice and easy to figure out what milestones are. Although, to be fair, not every task can be broken down into milestones. So it's a non-trivial problem, but if you apply yourself, you can probably figure out a way of measuring most things. All right, let's see if there's anything else. Okay, no more. All right, we're closing in on an hour, so that is a good amount of time. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. I don't see anything happening on YouTube. That doesn't mean that nothing is happening on YouTube. It just means that I can't see it. But nevertheless, we can't respond to something we can't see. So we're going to call it there, and we're going to conclude with this statement. Reputation, let me try that again. Reputation isn't what you say about yourself. It's what people say when you're not in the room. Let them say this. You can count on them. They're Starfleet. Thank you. That is all for today. You are dismissed. Swart out.
The Starfleet life with the USS Dauntless. Are you brave enough to be a Starfleet officer? Do you have what it takes